Hello and thanks very much for coming back again. This video is going to be about a three-wheel polishing system, and there's a reason why I'm doing this. I have done a video before, but the other day I was looking through, as we do on websites at tools and things, and I came across a three-wheel polishing system from a UK sole distributor, and the price of this unit, you better sit down for this, £128 for some polishing pads and some polishing compounds and a few bits of metal. And to be honest, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I tried to charge someone that kind of money. So having done one of these before, and we've sold the polishing wheels for quite a number of years now, I thought it would be nice to actually put a whole kit together, so you can buy it all in one place, not particularly expensive, certainly nowhere near 128 quid, and actually make your own, and you can make it the way you want to do it. And we've done quite a few tools and kits before, because to be honest, it's really quite nice to make your own tools, because instead of me deciding how you're going to have your tool, you can decide exactly how you want it. You can decide whether you want to have a Morse taper fitting in it, or whether you want to fit it in the chuck, and I could go on and on and on, but you can do it yourself the way you want to do it. All we're really doing is providing the bits and pieces that would actually be quite difficult to make on your own, i.e. the metal bits, but there's not that many of them. They're not particularly expensive, so we've put this whole kit together, and I'll point the camera down at the box in a minute and show you exactly what's in the kit, and then pretty much how simple it is to make the rest of it. In our little box of tricks, you get the following. You get 3 buffing wheels, like so. These are 5-inch buffing wheels, and the reason they're 5-inch buffing wheels is because we think they're the best size for small lathes, and more people have small lathes than they do have large ones. I'm on a large one today, but that's neither here nor there. A bag of bits, 4 wood insert screws. You only need 2, but we give you 2 extra. A dozen nuts, some large M8 washers, M8 threaded bar, around about 250 mils long, Triple E polishing block, and a white diamond polishing block. We don't include wax in ours, because our thought was, so many wood turners like so many different types of wax, why limit it to one? So we've left the wax out. You can use carnauba wax if you want to, or whatever you want. If you use, I don't even know what I've got in here, microcrystalline wax, or Hampshire sheen is another one I've got in the cupboard. You can use any of those and buff off on the final wheel. So all we're really looking at today is making something to hold this rod, and then putting the 3 polishing wheels on them. It's as simple as that, and we've got the wood insert screws for that. The polishing wheels, you will see here, you will notice that they're stitched, so there's not a lot of movement on the outside one. It takes a couple of minutes, but you can unstitch these and make them looser leaf if you want to. And bear with me a second, this is, forgive me, this is what I use for polishing metal. So I've got the 3 system again, and here you can see I've unstitched this one. I've taken the stitching out of here, and it's a much looser leaf and softer polish. So these can be adjusted how you want them as well. As I said before, we're using a 5-inch wheel, for the simple reason, on a small lathe you can actually get underneath, and this is where you want to be polishing underneath. What you don't want to be doing is polishing on the top, because you can't see what you're doing. If you're polishing at the front, you can't see what you're doing, so you need to have it pointed kind of here. And on a small lathe, these 5-inch wheels are just the right size. You can polish there, and you can see what's going on as and when you do it. And if you get a catch on anything, because these do go around at some speed, it will be sending your object, your polished object, away from you, either down or away from you, as opposed to towards you, because you wouldn't want that to happen. So basically this is what we're going to make today. I'm starting off with a scrap of, this is cherry, and a centre finder. I'm I'm just going to go at very low speed just to find the centre. You really need to make sure this is flat first. Next, I'm going to drill in here with an 11.5mm drill. Now the drill size, sorry, what I didn't say is we're fitting the wood insert screws. The drill size can vary for these wood insert screws. It depends on your wood. 11.5 is okay for most hardwoods. If you've got a slightly softer wood, you might get away with 11. I've even done it with a 10 before now and just wiggled it around. They're not particularly fussy, but I'm going to use an 11.5 here to drill into there, and then I'm going to countersink it, and we're just going to screw in the wood insert screw. So that's the 11.5mm drill, and then I'm just going to use a little countersink bit here just to countersink that bit in there. There we go, it's pretty quick, and now what we're going to do is just fit the wood insert screw using an 8mm hex key just to screw that in. I'm doing this on the lathe for the because it's easier for me to film on the lathe and do everything here than it is to keep moving the camera. I quite often do this on a pillar drill, to be honest. I find it a bit quicker. So an 8mm hex key, and I'm just going to screw that into there like so. Now there we go. What I'm now going to do is to mount, I'm going to use one of our heavy duty mandrels. They don't come with the kit, but they are available separately. They're ideal for bottle stoppers, and they're also handy for this, but you don't have to do it that way. There are a variety of ways that you can use these wood insert screws. So there's a variety of different parts you can make to fit in your lathe. You might want to fit it in your chuck. You might want to have a Morse taper fitting. There's no reason why you can't make a Morse taper fitting out of wood, and that's what I'm going to do. So if I just put those two parts there, because this bit of wood's way too long, I'm just going to put a mark there, and I'm just going to trim this piece of wood off on the bandsaw to that length there, and then I'm just going to copy the dimensions of the this Morse taper fitting here into the wood, so when it comes for me mounting the polishing wheels, I can mount it straight in the Morse taper headstock. So there, hopefully we have our little Morse taper fitting in wood, and why not? We'll take that off there. I think it might well be that we need to trim that down slightly to get it nicely centered. Let's see if we can get this chuck off and see how it fits. Let's have a look at the two of them together there. If I can get the camera to focus. Come on, camera, there we go. So focusing, I think they're quite similar there, so let's have a look and see how that fits in there. Quite well. by the looks of things. So that's easy to slot in, but as I said, you don't have to do it like that. If you want one that fits in your chuck, you can do it that way. You can do it whichever way you like. So basically what we've built is a mandrel. That's our Morse taper fitting. You can obviously make it whatever size Morse taper you have. This is Morse taper 2, and basically that's a mandrel that we've got. Now all we need to do is put the bits and pieces on here. Now you'll see when you get the polishing pads, it's really quite a small hole in the middle, and the M8 rod won't fit through it, so they need to be drilled out. It's not difficult, just drilled out a bit bigger. I drill mine out at 8mm, and that way they still have to be actually turned on to the rod. You can obviously drill them in more and just push them on. That's entirely up to you. So in true video fashion, I've got my actual polishing thing that I use, and I'm showing you on this to save me building another one right from scratch, because I've already got 3 of these and I don't need another one. So the way we do it is we put the pad on there, the penny washer on there, and then we screw on the nuts, and there's 2 nuts to each side. There's a washer each side of the polishing pad, and 2 nuts, because the 2 nuts will lock each other off and stop them coming undone. It doesn't take too long to wind them on, to be honest, and if you've got it on the lathe, you can even have the lathe turning at slow speed, I'm going to stress, and use the lathe to actually spin them on. So I'm just going to spin this one on here, and when I've done this, and you've watched a man turning lots of nuts, which is extraordinarily dull, I'm sure. Here we go. And the next one we've got, so I'll put my 2 washers, I'll put 2 nuts on there, and obviously the spacing you can change and move as you require, however you want to do it. Make sure we've got it nice and tight and locked off, albeit they won't go anywhere because there's nowhere for them to go, and we've now got that fixed in place. All we need to do now is screw in our Morse taper fitting, pop it in there, find our other end that's somewhere knocking around, pop that on there, we're ready to go. Not too much pressure because you don't want to bend that bar, just the right amount of pressure. Let's have a look at that. There we go. If it's not completely centered, and I think probably because I've been talking to the camera more than watching what I'm doing, this isn't completely centered, to be honest, it doesn't really matter. It's for polishing, so you're working with something soft and pliable here anyway, and it will work just as well. Right, sorry about the noise. It will work just as well. What I'm now going to do is get some of the polishing compound and show you how it actually works on a bit of wood. Right, I have got a scrap of English field maple, like so. It's just been sanded, had nothing else on it. I've got my 3 wheels. The brown one you'll see is for the Tripoli brown, reddish brown polish, white for the diamond white. I don't put anything else on this one, I just use that for buffing off. I might put some other wax on the actual piece of wood manually and then buff it off with that one later if it needs it. So how do you work it? You turn it on like so. Tiny bit, you really don't need much of this at all to put on there, and then you literally just work it up and down like so. hopefully start to see that I'll catch it with the light, start to shine. We'll then work our way onto the diamond white. Now I can just brush that off. Like so, and you can see the difference here. It's still nice and smooth, but that's got a pretty nice finish on it. And of course you can use it on acrylics as well. So as I was saying earlier, this is a pretty big lathe, and I've got lots of room underneath here. Behind me, where this normally sits, is a little jet modeller's lathe, which is where I normally have this on. And the reason we've gone for this size is because you saw me when I was polishing. Getting underneath here is the best place, and a wheel any bigger on a small lathe, you're really struggling to get underneath there. But hopefully you can see that that does a pretty good job. Finally, just before I go, if you ever need to clean your wheels off, bit of scrap sandpaper. You don't want to do this too often because it wears out the cotton, but a bit of scrap sandpaper and you can just clean it off. It's a bit dusty, so maybe have that going, but that's stripped that down. That's all quite nice and soft again now, because they can get clogged up with the wax and stuff in there. So there we go, everything in the box here all together, everything you're going to need apart from a few bits of wood to make the wooden parts, but everything you're going to need to make one of these, and it's not £128. I hope that's helpful. I hope it's going to save some of you a few quid. We all have to make a living, but there's a reasonable living and an unreasonable one. Any questions, drop us an email. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Enjoy your polishing in your workshop. Until next time, bye bye for now.